In today's video, normally I do a complete rider breakdown, and I'll do a little bit of that because, that's just my forte. Sprocket says hi. But to start off with, I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive reaction to motorsports in general and what has gotten a little bit convoluted and conspiracy theory-ish when it comes to black flags and rider takeouts.
Bigger than that is my goal. So it also leads me to the subject about, Jake Paul. Like, look what he's done for boxing. He's kind of like realived it, brought new fans to it, and he's kind of, it's huge right now what he's doing, fighting these guys and stuff. And that's, what I'm trying to do with, moto is bring all these outsiders and more fans to the sport.
And that is exactly what this guy is doing. There's a difference between entertainment and racing. And lack of a better analogy is look what MTV did for music and then I would say television. Everyone started copying them on the reality TV stuff, and that has just hit home. I mean, honestly, that's what the vlog is it's a reality show that's on the internet. And MTV is pretty much the ones to hold the flag for creating that whole demographic and genre. But if I'm going into the realm of the race, so let's just watch a little bit of this and see my take on it. And I know you guys know a little bit about what I have thought when it comes to the whole finale because I was there, and truthfully being there on the floor, there's a lot of money. It's a Vegas, like sparks fly. And that's exactly what happened. There's Deegan not completely pushing Levi off the track, but just kind of letting him know what's going on. And if we further dive into a little bit of that, I want to talk about some Moto America stuff as well. But, Brian said that, hey, Seth had team orders essentially to put Hayden in a bad position points-wise to make it to where Seth could potentially win. And then after SMX, the final with Joe and Deegs, if they take each other out, Seth is the champion, and they would more than happy take that trophy. Yeah, I do think that there's a little bit of validity in this comment. Maybe it's worded a little bit different, but there is team orders. Absolutely, there's team orders. So do I think Levi was meaning to go in there and take Deegan out? No, but I'm sure there was talk on like, hey, if you can get in front of Deegan and have him finish behind you and Seth is up front, that's good for us because truthfully, this is all about dollars and cents and how well you perform. But I will get into a little bit more in depth. So let's continue on. But if I'm taking a small little segue here, I want you to pay attention to Joe and what he does in this next fast section. This is where Sexton goes down. He's going to have his rear hit the rut, but his front is going to be outside of the rut. So it's not hitting all the crazy holes, but it's there just in case something slips. He has something to catch him. Just beautifully executed. Watch this. Just totally sideways drift around the entire left-hand corner. You can see that motorcycle is just painted out just a little bit where normally you'd want to stay here, but you have Joe that's just staying little bit weird angle, but he's just hauling freaking ass in order to continue to put the power to the ground. So if we get back to the whole Deegan stuff, here's Deegan looking over, not taking him out, but just blocking him, messing up the race. And this on probation for, I believe, what he did to Cole Davies. And that's another topic is usually in years past, motocross and supercross have been different. So if you get probation in supercross, it's not affected in motocross. And I didn't agree with that. And now it's all connected. Same thing with SMX, which is true. So if you're on probation, you're on probation the entire time. But if there's a 6-month probation, that's basically the entire series. You know what I mean? So probation should be 6 months. It should be 3 months. That's kind of convoluted when it comes to the rules. I will say with his penalty of 5 points for these shenanigans was a little minor because it's a triple point race. Triple points, probably triple the penalty. So it should have been 15 points in my opinion. So here he comes in here and bumps into Joe, trying to take him off. Joe was the only 250 rider I saw after that finish line double into the next corner to go wide, which was pretty impressive. But here you have Deegan, brake check, slowing him down. So there was many different shots. Like here was another one, stops him. That was a sheer blown, I wouldn't say takeout move, but that was a definitely Levi and Deegs, which I don't think that was a takeout move either, but it was just a full-blown, somewhat T-bone here. And yes, for 500 grand, then he comes in here and he unfortunately breaks his collarbone here. And I heard rumors that AMA was trying to prevent him from going to the Motocross of Nations, but talking with them and MX Sports, that is false. It's funny how rumors just seem to fly. And then also people talking about like the next lap he was going to get black flagged. So overall, what do I think of this? And is it Deegan's fault? What is it? What is it? Congrats to Joe for winning. I believe he would have won even if Deegan's ended up crossing the finish line first and ended up finishing in the points lead because of the penalty. Something would have happened to where Joe would have walked away with that money. But with their whole camp, they did not want anybody to be on top of the podium above them. And that just shows them as a racer, racing family. They wanted to make sure that they're the cream of the crop. I will say that this was definitely rough racing. Do I want to say that it was entirely dirty? Maybe my view is a little bit different because I think it's a byproduct of the amount of money involved. And 500K is a lot. I mean, even the privateers, they want to do everything they can. Like when I was talking to Chisholm with him, his shoulder not being able to go, he was bummed that he couldn't race on his last race. But more than that, it was like, damn, I'm missing out on a lot of money because racing motorcycles is expensive. And so when you dangle this fruit out here, I mean, so many people would take out their grandma for 500K and then pay the medical bills. Hopefully it's not 500K worth, but you get my point with this. So it's a byproduct of the series. And that's where I want to look into, well, okay, let's look at F1. How much money do they make? So an F1 driver does not directly receive prize money for victories. They typically still enjoy additional financial rewards behind their base salary for when they achieve success. So the distribution of prize money is determined by the finishing positions in the Constructors' Championship standings. And so Max, his contract, and Lewis Hamilton, they're making quite a bit of money. They're like only fan models. They're making 65 million, 60 million, or, NBA players. If we look at MotoGP riders, they don't get a purse per race. It's all basically salary. So Fabian Quartararo is 13 million. Marc Marquez is 9.7 million. I don't know what his bonus is for winning that championship, but it's quite a bit here. So this is where I'm getting a little bit into the convoluted rabbit hole of should we even have prize money? Because the prize money is really only there for the privateers, if I'm being honest, because for a race win in Supercross, it's 17 grand. And a privateer would love that. But are they going to get that? No. It's a Ken Roczen. It's a Eli Tomac. It's a Deegan that's going to win that kind of money. And that's chump change to what their contract is. Their contract is 100K. I've seen stuff that's like 200 plus K for a race win. So that's really where they're making the money. So the prize money is really, should we have that? It's a clickbait, right? And so this SMX Final is just that because where did I read? It was on the AC show. Here it is. RacerX had this that, Levi goes in to talk about why did he go to take out Deegan? And he says it wasn't for revenge. This week, Multiforms wasn't revenge on Hayden. This is the playoffs. There's a lot of money on the line for every position. And that made Levi get aggressive in ways he's never been before. Right? So who, if we had to point fingers, who are we pointing fingers at? It's almost the prize money because it's a byproduct. You're going to get stuff like this. And do we want dirty riding? From a fan's perspective, kind of, yeah. We want to see highlights. We want to see things that are exciting. We want to see clickbait. So back to what Hayden said at the beginning of this video, his goal is to make things exciting. He used Jake Paul as a reference. Truthfully, Jake Paul's shenanigans have been just that. You either like him or you really don't like him. And that's kind of Hayden's fan base that's been here. The YouTube stuff, everyone adores him. But when you go into the pro motocross, that's where he gets a little bit of the, I don't want to say censorship, but where he's had to apologize for some of the things that he said. But I'm still glad that he said most of that stuff. I mean, if I'm being honest, he's turned me into a fan, because at first I wasn't really too keen on what was going on. However, when he talks, he backs it up. So I put it in the realm of that Conor McGregor. I hated Conor McGregor for forever because I was like, look at this dickhead, dude, talking all this smack. Like, I come from motocross where I looked up to guys like Dungey and them, very clean cut. And then he backs it up. You can't help but just kind of respect that a little bit. But again, moto is turning a little bit more into entertainment, where we would rather see these little reels than watch the entire race. And so if I look at like what happened here at Moto America, there's quite a bit of stuff going on here. This is Moto America's Instagram, and look, they're averaging around 30,000 views. Moto America is, I wouldn't say dying, but they've been hurting as far as road racing goes. And these guys don't get paid purses as well. It's all based on the bonus structures of the teams. But here's Bobby Fong. He was going to win the championship.
Going to eliminate Josh Herrin out of this chip. Oh, no!
First year on a factory attack Yamaha, and this was the last race. He was on pole position. He said that Josh Herrin was brake checking him, and it didn't completely look like that, but, there's tensions are high. But this stuff, he doesn't give the bird, but he gives the kill shot here. So it goes more into Josh Herrin has quite a bit of a following. And so Bobby Fong says,
explain my hand gestures after race 2 with Josh Herrin. First off, I'm not going to hurt anybody. I never want to hurt my competitors or anything. I personally felt like giving this gesture was a little bit better than giving the bird on live television.
And then people just take it for what it is. And then Josh uses, the social media. I did not want to ever brake check you. I was just squaring up corners and trying to get good drives. Clean racing. I came over to offer you a ride to the pits, and I got greeted with an F you. I'm going to kill you, So any natural adult realizes that it's sensationalism, right? Racing is hot and heavy. You say this stuff all the time, but you're not actually going to go there. People take things way too literally now, and this is where it's almost like all the sports and all the fans are becoming soft, right? And it goes back to that saying that weak men create bad times create strong men, and strong men create good times, and it just kind of rolls over and over again throughout history. And this made me think a little bit because of all the shenanigans that's going on in racing. Could there be any sort of repercussions legally for potentially stuff that Deegan did? So I reached out to Eternity just for shits and giggles, right, to see what potentially could possibly happen in a civil court, right? And this is all just allegedly, hypothetically talking. Deegan would have had to done something incredibly awful to probably get law enforcement involved, where he had to seriously injured Joe almost to the point. And so allegedly, it was on the civil side. It wouldn't be too unbelievable if a jury found Deegs liable for claims like assault, battery, or negligence for if it caused Joe Honda damages. But it'd have to be something really severe, like a really devastating thing that happened where the motorcycle blew up or something like that. But, we live in this weird world, right? And so when it comes to the series, I would say it's their responsibility to take care of the riders. And I think moving forward, there's definitely going to be a precedent set that, this is a lot of money. So we need to figure something out. And do I have the answers for that? No, I don't. I'm just giving the information, a little bit of the reaction where maybe we need to go to a no prize purse for stuff. It's just all bonus structured after the fact, right? But for 33 races, it did make things exciting. And Deegan, love him or hate him, he is bringing new fans to the sport, and it has been the talk of the town for a few weeks now for just this. And let me end this with one more small rider technique. You have probably the best rider in the world as of right now on a 450. Say on a 450. Jet Lawrence. Everyone was downsiding this double all day long, and Jet way overjumps it. Like, I mean, way overjumps it. They did remove the tough locks here because of what happened to Cole Davies landing and unfortunately tattooing himself to the concrete of the drag strip there, but overjumps, boom. And then comes in here and does the same thing that Joe Shimoda was doing when it comes to not following the entire rut with both wheels, where he's following with just the rear wheel, and then he is going to point that front wheel out. So if we watch this, beautifully done. Just beautifully done execution. Best rider in the world. And hey, that is it. That is the reaction to everything that's gone on in motorsports and what's the difference between cash for cash, grab race, and something that should be changed. You know, we will see. Let me know in the comments below what you agree, disagree with. Let's have a conversation. Bra da 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 da.